Hallmark of cancer, tumor promoting inflammation. So this is about inflammations. So basically, we don't want inflammation because inflammations, um, we get inflamed when there's like infections or like we get wound, and in the process, so it's a necessary process, but also in the like for example, wound healing, like it promotes cell proliferation, right? And there's necessary for wound healing, but if we don't want cell proliferation all the time because they make us cancer. So inflammation causes or helps to initiate tumor and promote and metastasize. So initiation, mutation, and epigenetics to tumor outgrowth. So because of the survival signal that the inflammation sends. Because if you think about wound healing, we want the survival signals, right? Tumor promotion, growth and survival factors. Again, wound healing. TMA plus T cell recruitment, angiogenesis, immunoprotection, of course. We want angiogenesis because if you got wound healing and you need a lot of cells and building materials to go to that site, so we need a lot of good blood vessel there. Tumor metastasize, induction of EMT, so epithelial to mesenchymal cells. So mesenchymal is the one that's kind of able to like move around, because when we have like wound, then we need like cells nearby, which is epithelial cells, to like move to the empty site. So it needs to turn to mesenchymal cell, and that helps metastasize. So remodeling of ECM, cancer immune cell, yada yada yada. So all that stuff. So we don't want chronic wound inflammations. So their inflammation source can be the intrinsic or extrinsic. The extrinsic is a wound and pathogen. Caused by immune system reacting to external pathogens. So macrophage produces cytokines, TNF alpha, and faced with pathogen, and that TNF alpha induces the NF-kappa B and the STAT that transcribe pro-inflammatory factors, which we'll talk about later. So macrophage make TNF alpha. TNF alpha makes NF-kappa B and STAT, and those two make stuff that make inflammation and also cancers. Intrinsic is like body response to tumor or when you're obese and stuff. So there's like 3 ways: oncogenic activation, such as this KRAS and MYC genes that can lead to the induction of cytokines, trigger inflammations. The tumor suppressing mutated P53 will lead to an increase in the expression of kappa B dependent inflammatory genes, and DNA damage induced inflammation trigger by damage associated molecular pattern damp, other type of inflammation. Okay, let's move on. So this TAM, tumor associated macrophage, is they make like reactive oxygen and nitrogen species which damages DNA and it's supposed to kill like cells, but then again, like cancer cells are more resistant to that, so they only get more DNA damage, which causes more mutation and more cancers. And here this macrophage release cytokines, right, and like TNF alpha and whatnot, and this is to recruit more like other like fellow macrophages and immune cells. But in the process, the cytokines like TNF alpha is also like angiogenic, so it like helps them bring more new vessels, and which provide not only the immune cells but also nutrition and oxygen for cancer cells. So not that great for our body. And NF-kappa B inactivation can have anti-carcinogenic effects. So basically, deleting NF-kappa B helps to beat cancers. So deletion of this molecule that's really similar to NF-kappa B, so if you delete that, the tumor incidence decrease and the tumor size also decrease and stuff like that. Apoptosis increase. And what causes NF-kappa B or activates is like carcinogen like cigarette and inflammatory agent like TNF alpha, stress, hypoxia, viruses, bacteria, etc. And that causes the inhibition of apoptosis, inflammation, EMT angiogenesis, and which all contributes to tumor genesis. So NF-kappa B cause cancer, and don't smoke and don't get stressed. So these are just a list of like stuff that can cause cancers, but let's just focus on cytokines and the tumor necrosis factor, TNF alpha. So cytokines binds with like cytokine receptor and then activated JAN kinase, and not only does it make STAT protein, which we'll talk about later, but that causes cancer, but also it like activates like other type of stuff. Eventually leads to like more different type of transcription factors that cause cancers. And TNF alpha activates this inhibitor of KB kinase, which activates NF kappa B, which is kind of cancer causing ish. So we'll talk about more. So and there's some sort of a stimulus which makes the IKK, which is an inhibition of kappa B kinase. So kinase is adding P, so like phosphates. So it phosphorylates IKB, and then once you phosphorylate, like they split, and this release NF kappa B, which goes into the nucleus and then like start making like different proteins that are like not good for us, like inhibition of apoptosis, inflammatory response, metastasis, epithelial to mesenchymal transition, angiogenesis, etc. So yeah. So can you have overactivation of kappa B, mutation of NF kappa B itself, or on the regulators, or it's always chronically inflamed, so it goes through this process too much. So we have the transgenic mouse, and what's different is that this all the cells in this mouse has like this gene that we put in, and what this gene is like hepatocyte specific promoter. So there's like a liver promoter, and then they activate this like transactivator called TA, or it's only in the activated in the liver anyway. So and then this what TA does is like it like inactivate it makes IKB, which inactivate NF kappa B, which was shown here. But when this IKB is like not made because TA couldn't bind to TT, then the NF kappa B is like it's like it's just free floating. So it's just like as soon as it's like present, it's just going to the nucleus and start making stuff or genes. So it's gonna be, this mouse is gonna be more like prone to like liver cancers and tumor and stuff, given that it was given a drug of doxycycline, which inhibits the TA's transcription. STAT, this is another one they were talking about here, up here somewhere, NF kappa B and STAT. Okay, so cytokines comes into the and binds with the receptor, and then they like this JAK, which actually stands for just another kinase, but later it was like, at the time they didn't know it was important, but now it's like important, so they have like different name for it. It stands for different, JAK stands for something else, but anyway, this JAK, just another kinase, is like may either activate RAS, and also it makes like STAT, and it's like a phosphorylate STAT, and then it's like it dimerizes, and then after it goes into nucleus and then like start expressing genes that are like involved in proliferation, survival, angiogenesis, inflammation. So all the oncogenes or proto-oncogenes, such as cyclin D, BCL, VGF, IL-6, MYC. VGF is angiogenesis one. So JAK, some cytokine, JAK, and then STAT, and then make genes. So that's the STAT activation, which STAT stands for signal transduction activation of transcription, which is also another generic name. Infectious agents like virus and bacteria can cause cancers. So the human papillomavirus, HPV, makes like the E6, E7. These are overexpressed proteins, and they cause like cervical, throat, and anogenital cancers. This Helicobacter bacteria, which causes ulcer, is also causes gastric cancer, which is actually 5% of all type of cancers. So that's great because you can just take antibiotics and then prevent that like cancers, 5%, which is great. So this LMP1 and TAX protein activate NF kappa B, which you know NF kappa B, they like transcribe like a bunch of these like protein oncogenes or oncogenes. So we don't want that, but that's what they do, the viruses and bacteria. And also, besides this, make the protein that they make, viruses insert itself into the DNA, right? The human DNA, and then that may cause potential mutations and cause cancer as well. Okay, the paracrine neoplana, the viral oncogene of KSHB, VGCPR, let's talk about it. Okay, so this KSHB, which is like a Kaposi sarcoma associated herpes virus over here. Anyway, this virus makes a fake GCPR receptor, and what it is mimicking is like, oh, there's like no signal, so it's like a fake receptor, and maybe like this and this like block or something, so it can't bind to anything. Anyway, and then that causes this GCPR, like makes it down. The pathway down here is like causes activate MAPK and NF-kappa B pathways, which like causes like production of PDGF, and PDGF actually goes to like nearby like cells that binds to the receptor, and then they helps to make like a VEGF, which is like the angiogenesis promoting molecules. So there's that. So this virus causes angiogenesis. This is like a different type of strains of HPV virus, but good things is the current vaccines cover about 90% of the cases, there's cancer cases caused by the viruses, so that's great. This E6 and E7, the protein that's made by HPV, causes P53 degradation and E2F activation. E2F is what it does is it proliferates things. I'm assuming P53 causes apoptosis. Yeah, P53 causes apoptosis. So there's that. And then this bacteria infection contributes to carcinogenesis in different ways. And this guy is like, this bacteria makes this CAG-A protein, and what it does is like it phosphorylates, like get phosphorylated, and then it can activate this SH protein too. And then I think SH2 is just like a binding site. Anyways, once you get activated, SH2 get activated, or SHP2 get activated, it activates MAPK pathways, and it turns this cell into cancer cells. Another way, it is that this CAG-A also, before it gets phosphorylated, like it cleaves this beta-catenin and E-cadherin complex, and what it does is like this beta-catenin like goes into nucleus and like start promoting like gene expression and promotes proliferations. So it causes cancer in another way. And the cancer prevention strategies for this infection and inflammation, there's a good thing that these infections and inflammations are easier to deal with than cancer. So we could put antibiotics for this bacteria, which gives gastric cancer. So we can prevent gastric cancer pretty easily. And NSAID, which stands for non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drug, like aspirin or Celebrex, can block the COX-2, which is an inflammation molecules, and you can, by blocking those, we can stop the inflammations. For vaccines, we can, like for viruses, we can prevent HPV and hepatitis B viruses, which they're cancer causing. So by preventing those viruses, we can prevent cancer, like cervical cancer and liver cancers. So for strategy to inhibit NF-kappa B pathway, so we're going back up to NF-kappa B over here. So we can like make a bunch of this like IKB, or we can like prevent the phosphorylation of the IKB, or we can prevent this NF-kappa B from going into the nucleus to like make more genes or proteins. So yeah, those are some few ways to inhibit the NF-kappa B pathway.